Hey guys, welcome back to the Weekly Awakening Podcast, episode 253. This is your host, Cosmic Colleen. I just want to start this episode out with the fact that Mars will not be retrograding again until in Cancer. Remember, Mars retrogrades every 2 years, but Mars will not be retrograding again in the sign of Cancer until 2039. We made it, guys. We have made it through one of the harder retrogrades for Mars to be in. This week, there'll be more of a pleasant shift. We should all be feeling that shift today. I hope that you are definitely feeling it. I know I woke up and thought, wow, things feel a little bit lighter. Like I said in other episodes, and if you're more curious about how Mars shows up in the sign of Cancer, go look at the episodes titled Mars in Cancer, because Mars is debilitated in Cancer. It is like one of the hardest retrogrades for Mars to be in. So again, not until 2039. I don't even want to think about how old I'll be when that happens. So this week, this is a peaceful week. We're beginning the Pisces season. A lot of Pisces energy. We have the new moon in Pisces on Thursday, the 27th, but I talked about that on last week's episode 252. So if you want to know more details about this Thursday's new moon, go check out last week's episode. So on Saturday, March 1st, this weekend, we also have Mercury in Pisces conjuncting the North Node, 11:34 a.m. East Coast time. Then later that day, Venus stations retrograde in Aries at 7:36 p.m. Eastern time in Mars' sign of Aries, just as Mars stationed direct. I find that pretty interesting that Mars, right, because they're opposition planets, they're like the yin and the yang, they go together in very two different ways. Mars just finished this retrograde yesterday, and then this weekend we're gonna have Venus retrograding in the sign of Aries. So that's really strange. There's only like this 4-day crossover. So this is gonna really be the yin and the yang of the masculine and the feminine for a lot of us. Then Sunday, March 2nd, Mercury will conjunct Neptune in Pisces at 11:21 a.m. We're gonna talk a lot about that because that's gonna tie into the Mercury retrograde. Later that day, the Sun in Pisces will square Jupiter in Gemini. And on Monday the 3rd, Mercury enters Aries. Okay, so first of all, 2 weeks post-op my surgery. I talked about it a little bit before. Since Thursday, when Mercury had that square to Jupiter, you can't keep me down. Like the first week, I wrote it out. It was so nice. I didn't have my kids. I could rest. I could take care of myself. You know, it was an abdominal, so I couldn't like quite get up. But then this week, I've had my kids this whole week. Now we're going on 9 days. And two things. One, again, when that square happened Thursday, I woke up that morning at like 7 a.m. like, hey guys, do you want to go, how about you guys wait here and I'll go to Dunkin' Donuts? And I was blasting Purungai, my kind of tribal electronic music, and I was dancing, and I definitely overdid it. The Gemini, the Virgo, I do. So I definitely overdid it. And I want to say this other thing, this whole week, having my kids, but not having to work at the salon, I was like a stay-at-home mom, and I loved it. I love to work. Don't get me wrong. I have a sun in Mercury in the 10th house of career. So career is actually extremely important to me. But I freaking loved it. Like nothing is that stressful. I mean, again, I'm not saying, I'm sure stay-at-home mom actually doing that full time is stressful, but I'm a single mom who takes care of my kids while working. And so not having to do that, but like just being able to do what I wanted at home all day and then be a mom when my kids got home from school and in the morning, I was way more patient. Nothing bothered me. I went with the flow, and I was like, I could do this 1 month out of the year. Often I take my time and go on vacations, and I love that vibe more, but I'm like, I would love to just, I don't know, take 1 month out of the year and do nothing but like my creations and be a mom. It was actually a fun experience and good for my kids, and they were well behaved with me for the most part with my surgery and not give me too much shit. But I'm feeling good. I'm on the rise. You can't keep me down. That's what I'm telling you. So let's talk about Venus stationing retrograde in Aries. that is happening this weekend. We refer to Venus as she, the feminine, the divine feminine, will be at 10 degrees in Aries when she stations retrograde. During this retrograde, she will retrograde back into Pisces on March 27th. So she is going to have a good solid month retrograding in Aries. Then she will spend 2 weeks retrograding in the sign of Pisces, and she'll go the whole way back to 24 degrees into Pisces, and then station direct at 24 degrees, stay in Pisces until April 30th. So this retrograde is going to be spending one entire month in Aries and one entire month in Pisces. Yes, all of Aries mostly retrograding, all of Pisces mostly, half of it's retrograding, half of it is her stationing direct and then moving forward post shadow period. So this is going to be really big for my Aries and for my Pisces, but in really good ways. I'm feeling good about the spring when it comes to like personal, maybe not necessarily other things, but when it comes to the one-on-one, the soul, the person, this is a good spring. It's going to be good for that. So again, my mutable signs, this is going to affect you guys the most, plus Aries and some of my cardinal signs, but really Aries. So to get an idea of what's happening, especially my mutable signs with Pisces, go back to my episode titled Venus in Pisces and get an idea of what showed up then, because it's going to show up again in some ways. It's going to replay itself, go back to something. That's what we do with retrogrades. We go back. So on today's episode, like I said, I'm just going to be talking about Venus in Aries. When Venus retrogrades back into Pisces, I'll talk more about Venus retrograding in Pisces. So first, my cardinal placements, especially Aries, you guys are going to be feeling this Venus retrograde the most. My cardinal, Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. A lot of new energy is happening big time for my cardinal Aries placements this spring. Finally, the new chapter is beginning from eclipse season. Like I talked about, I think on last week's episode, eclipse season is like a domino effect. We see it's like a mixture of big and small changes over an 18-month period where like each one levels out a domino, right? It's almost like a chapter. You're reading a book. This is a book when you're in eclipse season within that. And so now that we're finally finished and we're ending this with we're ending the Libra Aries eclipse season with a really nice solar eclipse in Aries. This is going to bring such a nice new chapter with this Venus retrograde. It's going to be interesting again with Mars retrograding and stationing direct right before Venus, stations retrograde. But there's going to be this interesting shift between feminine and masculine energy. But there will be returning. Like I said, with Venus, there will be returning. So though my Aries and Cardinals are beginning a brand new chapter, and there's going to be something that really launches from that during this time, there's going to be some returns. And it could just be a return in a message. It could be a return to look back at how you've grown or how you've changed or how you shifted. And wow, I'm not at that level anymore. It's going to be a return to previous self-love, okay? Let's talk about what Venus rules over. Love, relationships, self-love, joy, pleasure, money, the things we find joy in. It's a benefit by nature. This planet brings positive energy. Now, when in Aries, she is not working at her best. Okay, so let's talk about that. Mars's sign, she is in her opposition. It's interesting too during this season that both Mars and Venus have had this retrograde in these two signs that make them uncomfortable. So it's kind of like, all right, what inside of us, masculine, feminine energy, are we making uncomfortable? What needs to be shaken up? What do we need to embrace and more? One of the strongest things we can do to persevere through character is just sit in something that is uncomfortable, or maybe even make light of something that is uncomfortable. So again, when she is in Aries, she's not working at her best. So let's start with the good of this retrograde. I think there's going to be a lot of very, really spicy and sexy energy with this retrograde, having Mars direct in the sign of the moon, the body, the warm, and then having Venus in Mars' sign of Aries. There is a lot of, I think, very sexual touch, sexual feelings, sexual erotic sort of energy kind of pulsating through the body or within you and other people. But the other coin, that doesn't mean all of this will be like this. Some of this will just be fun and good and positive. But there can be an attraction that is sudden, that can be good. But also there's an attraction that is sudden that is almost feels like, I shouldn't do that, but I'm going to, right? The Venus is like, I shouldn't do that. But Mars is like, but you're going to, because it feels wrong, and that wrong feels so good. It is going to be a little bit at the forefront of some people's mind. I think strongest for Aries, Libra, Scorpio. That's like, should I do that? Should I act on this energy? Should I act on this joy and pleasure, even though there could be ramifications at the end of this? But maybe there isn't either. You know, you never know. It's a 50-50 chance. In love, this can bring some jealousy, more aggressive energy. And remember, that can be good and bad. Sometimes you need a little bit of that aggressive energy to persevere through something, push through something, really get a message across. But the jealousy sometimes, as I used to be a former, and I still can be quite jealous person, believe it or not. Even though I want freedom, I used to be very jealous and controlling of the people closest to me. And I've spent years working on that. But so guess long story short, jealousy is usually not a good answer. The reason why I even got through that real quick was because I stopped wanting to feel it. I don't want to feel that. When it comes to jealousy, we feel that. The other person doesn't feel it. They feel the ramifications on the other end of however we're treating them based on the projection of jealousy. But I worked through it because I don't want to give a fuck. You know, my word was unbothered. This year it's free. I don't want to care. And it took me years to get through that. And I still can have some issues, believe it or not. So back to this themes of Venus retrograde, wanting to attach quickly. Maybe some Aries or some Libra risings are feeling a little burned out in the love department for a bit, like you don't have a ton to give in that moment, especially with people who have Venus in Aries or Libra. So again, here's the other side to it. Some people might have this fast, quick, attention that you just want to bring on, or others, Aries, Libras, you might be like, oh my God, I feel so burned out in the love department. I just feel like I just don't know where to balance things. I don't know where to place things. I feel all over the place. Am I doing enough for myself? That can be some of the things that come up. Again, this is going to bring up masculine, feminine energy conflicts. This is definitely a time for female empowerment. I always feel like there's a lot of nice female empowerment. And that's talk about self-love now when it refers to Venus in retrograde. Feeling sexy, steamy, maybe returning to a fashion look that made you feel sexy or beautiful. The desire to want to really put work into your aesthetic will be there. When Venus is in Capricorn, we're like, fuck it. I don't care what I wear or understand, or I want a more understated look. But when we're in Aries, it's like, I did not come to play. I am here to look sexy. I'm here to look beautiful. I'm here to bring it on. So Venus in different signs is going to bring a different aesthetic kind of energy. Especially today here in the Philadelphia area, it's going to be 50 degrees. I don't think, normally we have some of these days sprinkled in our winter, but we have not. I don't think it's been 50 degrees since maybe the middle of November. Females getting back into physical workout to feel good, or a new physical routine that definitely. Here's what you want to know, though. So a new physical routine, especially for my females, getting back to it, growing, doing the grind, but don't overdo it. Mars is still in the sign of Cancer. Make it a nice pace. Make it aligned. There will be a time to overdo it when Mars is in Leo, but don't overdo it right now. But get some new physical activity into your life. Now, my males, hey males, I do have some males who are constant listeners, and I love and appreciate you guys. My males, being more in tune with the softer, more emotional side of yourself, seeing how that can bring more intimacy, feel sexier, getting you in touch with your feminine side to better connect with your partner. If you're in a heterosexual, relationship, and if you're not, if it's the same sex or whatever sex, the whole spectrum of sexes, it's just maybe you're shifting in and out of that masculine, feminine identity, and you're kind of learning a new way to work and connect in that energy. sometimes we need, especially my males, we need to be a little bit softer. And sometimes my females, we got to be a little bit harder. It can be a delicate, fine manner, but Venus retrograde, coming off of this Mars retrograde, that is sort of a little bit of the vibration that we're talking about. If this is showing up as a way to better yourself, it can come as an obsession. It can happen too fast. So when Venus retrogrades back into Pisces, we'll cool it down, we'll slow it down, and we'll know where it needs to be cooled down and slowed down. And the same can go for relationships, that sex I kind of talked about. When Venus retrogrades into Pisces, there's like, whoa, we need to slow it down real quick. We got to way too far in the month of March. We got to take it back in the month of April to align ourselves in the right way. And then come May, it's going to pop off in a great way. I'm a poet and I didn't know it. Okay, so ready to take, these are some other themes for people, ready to take action to get those plans going with whatever creative energy pops through with this Pisces season as well. New joys or pleasures can come back quickly. And again, I think there's going to be a lot of good sexual energy that comes on strong, especially since Mars is now direct in the sign of Cancer. March 11th is going to be a big transit of Venus retrograde, though. Venus doesn't really interact with any other planet until, while she's retrograde, until she conjuncts Mercury, who is also slowing down and getting ready to station retrograde, which will happen later that week. So from here on out, the week of the 10th and on the 11th, 12th, 10th, 11th, 12th, that is going to be an intense week. And we'll talk about it later on next week's episode. So that's enough right now for Venus in retrograde, Venus retrograde right now. Again, next week's episode, I'll get into a little bit more of the energy of what we can expect on the 11th. Just some powerful energy. And it doesn't always mean it shows up bad. I've explained on different episodes. In some charts, in some ways, it shows up big. Sometimes it shows up harder. Sometimes it shows up easier. Sometimes I'm shocked the way the astrology will show up. It will be something very simple. Or I think it was last year when one of the times where Leo, the Uranus and Taurus, and I think the Sun and Leo were squaring each other. Some of you might remember this, and I did not expect it to show up this way. I got locked inside my dentist's bathroom, the way the door was, and it took 25 minutes to get me out. And I literally finally a patient was there who kind of knew how to unscrew the door, and apparently the way it was put in was real crazy, and the deadbolt broke off inside of the door, and I had to break the door down. He loosened it around the door frame, and then I kicked it open. And again, that's how that transit showed up. I couldn't believe it. Who would have ever thought? But sometimes it shows up that, you get locked inside your dentist's bathroom for 25 minutes and you have to break the door down. So it's not always this extreme intense thing. It can show up in those type of ways. But it will be of the nature of whatever sign or planet that is being influenced. Now, that for my Pisces people, for my Virgo, Gemini, Sagittarius, let's go back to talking about Mercury conjunct the North Node in Pisces. Go back to sort of my Mercury in Pisces episode 2. The North Node, it's a point of the ecliptic where the moon and the sun cross over and create an eclipse. In Eastern astrology, Vedic astrology, it's the head of the dragon. It's the beginning. It's the things that come through. It's the energy that comes through. But in Western astrology, the North Node, it's new energy. Because in the Eastern Vedic, it's not always good new energy. And there can be a little bit of shift to this. Imagine too much energy comes in and makes someone insane, they sort of say. But nevertheless, I kind of like to think it brings in more of the good, usually positive. Something gets drawn in, almost like a black hole when something conjuncts with the nodes. It's like a black hole sucking that energy in of whatever planet it's conjunct, using it to bring new changes into your life. This is growth energy, and this is going to be the beginning of what the Pisces Virgo eclipse is going to be centered around. When Mercury conjuncts the North Node, it's usually a good thing, but one thing that can happen is don't overdo it on substances, especially my Pisces and Virgo risings. Remember that during this time. Like I said, too much energy. Don't go drop too much acid or take too many shrooms, because it can make you feel like you have a bad trip or something when Mercury conjuncts the North Node. So Mercury conjunction with the North Node for Pisces placements. This is all my Pisces placements. Y'all will be feeling this the most, and there's a good energy around getting your mental health needs met, not feeling so lost, starting to implement a new mindset, starting something mentally new that gets your mindset right. Virgo risings, a new business partners or a new business venture with someone. Of course, new communication with a relationship. With retrograde, though, y'all be having this sign. You guys will be the most signs, Virgo risings, with both Venus and Mercury retrograding back into your house, 7th house of relationships, who probably have exes reach out to you. Like I said, that does not always happen. Or like going back to a previous relationship or a previous connection. Gemini risings, new business ideas and connections that actually play out. This is the planting of the seeds, and it will play out over the eclipse season. Important conversations will be happening. This can be too for your sun sign as well, and as your moon, but it's just the rising aligns with your birth chart. The Sag rising, new layers of your home, your foundation, where you live are happening. Maybe plans of a remodel, a move, or adding to your family. You know, or you're just going to be hearing the news of it, though. This is something new about it. And Pisces rising, as I said earlier, this is going to be about you finally getting your mind right, pulling it out of the gutter. You overcame a mental challenge, but you are now just feeling things out. Who are you not, what mentally, what kind of mental challenges do you need to make, Pisces? See, that's how the universe wanted me to say it to you. Now, new things of the mind are starting, like therapy, Reiki, acupuncture, setting alarms and waking up early, going to bed earlier on time. I know you guys don't naturally work or function in that way. Pisces are often way up late and don't wake up until I think most Pisces I know in their dream world, they would be up till 2, 3 in the morning and then wake up at like 12 in the afternoon. My Mercury ruled people, that is my Gemini, Virgo, but also my other two mutable signs. You will feel it strongly when Mercury will conjunct Neptune. On Sunday, March 2nd, there is a revealing of a mental truth that will begin to uncover, or something. The veil is still covering it, but you're seeing a little peek on the 2nd. You see something that you can't unsee, or you think something you can't unthink, or you hear something that you can't unhear. And you will return to this, and the truth will be revealed or played out over time as an action, resolution on the Aries eclipse, March 29th. So my Mercury ruled people, as well as my Sag and Pisces, remember these dates, March 2nd, March 29th, and April 17th, because that is going to be playing out over this time. So they'll return to this and the truth will be revealed, but with action resolution on the Aries eclipse on March 29th. And then the follow through will happen when Mercury moves direct in Pisces and then conjuncts again in Aries on the 17th. So some of the themes are going to be, and remember those dates, 2nd, 29th, 17th. Breaking a habit, finally allowing yourself to understand the truth of something in your mind, of something maybe you've been pushing off, the truth about another, a life truth, getting an idea off the ground, but first it seems kind of crazy or too far-fetched, making an unattainable goal attainable. Yes, making that goal unattainable. You might not believe in yourself at the beginning of that transit or in a la land about it, but then by the end, you are seeing how it is actually attainable. Sun and Pisces square Jupiter because we have a square again. Another square to Jupiter, all this Pisces, Gemini energy. It might come as, and this is happening the same day as the March 2nd, what we talked about with that. Sun and Pisces square Jupiter because the square might come as the truth hurts at first. Like, kind of like I'm saying, you might at first with this transit kicking off this Mercury retrograde be like, wow, I didn't see the truth in that, the truth in the life path. But the truth hurts, but it's honestly a lot of times like just ripping off the Band-Aid. It's the fear of the truth that we get scared of. And then after we rip off that Band-Aid, once we see the truth, it honestly doesn't hurt that much and it's not so scary. But it's going to be a truth we need. It's going to be a truth to set us free. Maybe it's a truth we've been asking for or praying for, but scared to get to. Pisces, Gemini, this is a day on March 2nd. Watch out where, there could be an argument, speaking with emotion, or just going back and forth. No one's understanding. The communication is not there. It's not making sense. It's going around circling. You won't meet eye to eye. And again, you could catch someone in a lie that day, kind of like I said, and that unravels a lot of different truths. You might want to hide from a truth or not seek out a truth. This is especially for my mutable signs. Why are we scared of the truth? I know I still can be, kind of like that hard on. Listen, I know that I actually can be scared of the truth still. We all can be. I'm human. However, again, I have worked hard and not just allowing me to see my truth. Sometimes I've even had to, before I've had to have a conversation with someone or whatever, I've looked myself in the mirror and be like, you got to fucking do this. You're a fucking strong, bad bitch. You got to face this truth right now. And it gets easier. It does. Each time it gets easier because you see how good it feels when the truth is revealed. It actually feels good. There can be some pain, but it gives you freedom. Unless you're a water sign and you want to be stuck in that pain. Shout out Scorpios, Pisces, just playing, kind of. Okay, so this is the awakening I want you guys to really go with when this is being revealed over this next week, these next 12 days. What is it in you that makes you scared of seeing these truths? What is it? Sit with yourself. Look at that. What truth are you scared of seeing right now? What truth are you scared of feeling? What truth are you scared to acknowledge? And here's another thing. Sometimes we're scared of the truth because we're afraid it's going to bring us this huge ending. So we're scared to speak up about how we feel, or we're scared to tell someone, or we're scared. You get what I'm saying, because we're afraid it's going to, be the complete. It's going to be the ending of something. And often that is usually not what happens. 95% that's not what happens. Whatever you're scared to approach, it ends up just shifting the energy in a lighter way. And if it does end, then it wasn't meant to be. And I'm definitely a person who lives my life like that. I feel like life is 80% fate, maybe 20% you can control, through manifestations and things like that. But then some days I think vice versa. It's all my mutables thinking, my Gemini going back and forth thinking, two sides to everything. So if you love this podcast, if you want to support this podcast, I'm fully self-supporting. The best way to support this podcast is to send it to a friend. Send it to one of my mutable or cardinal energy friends, Aries, Gemini, Pisces. Send it out there. Thank you for everyone who continues to support me on social media, posting it, rating it, reviewing it. I appreciate each and every one of you. I love you guys, and I have been on top of it with these episodes. So hopefully this Saturn squaring my Gemini 10th house is now, we're getting to the end of it. I love you all. Have a fabulous week, and goodbye. Oh, and happy new moon in Pisces. Remember, go back to last week's episode to hear more about that.